Hotel owner sues Seattle over biohazard contamination after homeless shelter lease. Turned the hotel into a place where the homeless, no barrier housing, could be housed after they left, after the pandemic was over. Oh, yeah, not good. How bad is it? Let's get into it. Here we go.
Now at 6, in a Project Seattle exclusive, a Seattle hotel owner is suing the city and county, alleging they left her building contaminated by meth and fentanyl. Good evening, and thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Preston Phillip.
And I'm Mary Naum. The city and county leased the South Lake Union Hotel to use as a temporary homeless shelter during the COVID pandemic. But the suit alleges that they failed to clean up the mess left behind. KOMO senior reporter Chris Daniels is live with the news of the lawsuit and what the city and county have to say about this. Chris?
Yeah, Mary and Preston, Neha Naria says she and her family wanted to help out the city and the county at a time of crisis, and that's why they leased out this hotel as a temporary homeless shelter. But now that the tenants have moved out, she says the property is uninhabitable, and she wants to force the city and the county to clean it up. The Civic Hotel stands out in South Lake Union with a mid-century modern design in the shadow of the Space Needle. But inside,
they didn't even do a basic cleaning, so everything is as they have left it.
Owner Neha Naria walks the halls.
You can kind of smell the odors that they have left behind.
Regretting her family's decision.
I don't know if you've ever smelled long-term fentanyl use, but it smells like chemicals. It smells like burnt chemicals because it is. That's literally what it smells like. Meth, same thing. Just this terrible, terrible smell. So you got a whole bunch of people that are used to doing this in their tent out on the streets. You know, the city says, well, we're going to get you into a hotel so you don't get the Rona. I mean, the exact opposite of physically what needed to happen. Leave them on the streets. It's fine. There's no Rona in their tent, right? Instead, this happened. So when they say the smell, it's a nasty, nasty smell because it is toxic.
We're stepping up to help the community.
The family leased the hotel to Seattle and King County during the height of the pandemic to house the homeless as a low-barrier shelter. And
let's be honest, they didn't do it out of the goodness of their heart to support the community, right? They did it because of money. Because there was no tourism going on, and this was an opportunity for them to cover some of their bills, because even if people aren't, occupying their hotel, they're not traveling around because everything's shut down, everything still piles up bills-wise. You got utilities, you got all kinds of stuff going on, especially a business like a hotel. They just can't go dormant and, we should be fine. So the city says, well, we're willing to take down entire blocks of your building and we'll sign a contract and then we'll clean it up afterwards. Well, yeah, maybe not.
She says vacated it in December, contaminated from meth and fentanyl.
Wow.
They were
burned.
supposed to biohazard test and clean the property. They did not. No one wants to actually open it up. In some rooms, it is in very high levels to the degree that we will have to gut the property and take it back down to the studs.
That's why she's now suing the city and King County, saying they violated the terms, even citing the 2024 death of a newborn inside the building who was found with meth and fentanyl in their system. The mother was a tenant who has been charged with murder. All of that has led to some fingerprints.
But hey, let's go ahead and just keep doing low or no barrier housing, because what could go wrong? A pregnant mother is in there doing drugs and literally has a child that gets killed, or a stillborn. I can't remember what that story was. Horrible, horrible situation. But anyway, let's just let people do whatever they want without any consideration to whether we're trying to get them the help that they need. Let's just put them in housing. It should be fine. There won't be any shenanigans. You know that these rooms were just absolutely run over, and guaranteed they only showed the absolute best of the homes of the worst, because they don't want the reporter to get sick. Oh, You know what I mean? Yeah, I went through that unit. It was terrible. Did they warn you? Yes, they did. How was it? I got really sick. Some of these places, they're going to be like that because these people, if it's not their property and they're on drugs and they're crazy, they do not care. They're going to rip everything out. And that's kind of the situation where this hotel is at. Now they may need to take it down to the studs like they're talking about.
Pointing. In a formal response, Seattle City Attorney Ann Davison's office admitted that King County failed to clean and repair damage to the premises, and the city admits that it did not obtain a bid from a bio-cleaning company, with the county suggesting in another filing it is without sufficient information to form a belief as to the truth of the claims. Naria, who spent
let's see that one for a second again. What was that? King County is without sufficient information to form a belief as to the truth of the allegations contained in paragraph 2.4 and therefore denies the same. We don't have anything else that tells us that this is the way it is. Therefore, we're going to say, nope. Well, we don't know. Not sure. You got to bring us something more. So this is the city. This is King County. This is the city of Seattle, basically stonewalling a homeowner because they can. Because they can. They're not a business that needs to have their reputation intact. They're such a big entity. Hey, yeah, we'll take down your entire hotel. We'll pay you for your hotel because we need to get these people off the street because, the Rona might spread throughout the homeless community, which it never did. And people are like, that's weird. They're all out in tents. What's going on here? Why aren't they just dying on the regular? And then we got nursing homes where people are inside and they're dying in record numbers. What is going on? Inside, outside, inside, out. Oh, never mind.
Information to form a belief as to the truth of the claims. Naria, who spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to upgrade the hotel back in 2018, says she believes the city and county are slow-rolling the claim to mitigate the damage to take the property for a Sound Transit 3 station.
Part of me believes, are they using that to drive down the value when they do have to acquire, or are they using that so that I eventually have to fold?
That, she says, would likely leave the hotel unusable for years and her family-run Civic spot without any sort of income on the immediate horizon. I reached out to the Seattle City Attorney, King County Executive, and King County Civil Division for further comment on all of this. They all declined to do interviews today. Purpose Dignity Action, also known as the PDA, which was helping to manage the property, did issue me a lengthy statement today, which read in part that it was a wonderful venue to do low barrier work and it enforced no smoking rules and that it did take good care of the premises here. Mary?
Well, Chris, I'd like to ask you about the damage. Any idea how much work needs to be done at the hotel to restore it?
Yeah, you just heard from the owner there. She believes it needs to be torn down to the studs, that there is contamination on all of the countertops, in the walls, in the beds. All of that needs to be redone. And she's worried she's going to miss her window now with the 2026 World Cup. With hotel rooms in high demand, she doesn't know if she'll be able to open in time for that big event unless the city and the county do something.
Or they just do a massive run to Home Depot, get some kills, just shellac seal all those countertops, shellac seal the walls, just load it up. Yeah. And could you imagine? I got pretty sick at your hotel because you didn't tell us that it was contaminated with meth and fentanyl residue. Didn't know that. That stuff is just absolutely nasty. I mean, it is just horrific. And the fact that people just, light it up and get it through their bodies, terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. I mean, it's so, just not good. Not good. So yeah, getting back to the mother who was a tenant, and it's involving a baby that was found deceased inside the hotel with fentanyl and meth in their system. The mother could probably breastfeeding and just right through to the baby, or it just wasn't that old and the mother had been doing, the drugs and it was in their system. The mother, who was a tenant, has been charged with murder. Nanya, the owner, says that the city failed to properly manage people and make sure that they were not doing drugs inside. How are you going to do that? Have you seen how these people live out in the wild? The shenanigans that the homeless population is up to. A lot of folks want to say, well, they're not all on drugs, Sean. Maybe, but most of them are. I'd say 99 point whatever percent are. I mean, honestly, it's a known quantity. When people say, it's only 60%, the other 40 are just hanging out sober in tents with all this shenanigans going on around them. I don't think so. No. I mean, what could go wrong, right? You rent out a whole bunch of hotel rooms to people that are active drug addicts, and then you expect the city to do something about that? Okay. And make sure that they were not doing drugs inside. I mean, the city probably signed some kind of document saying we'll do our best. But at the end of the day, you got to have a notion that what the city's going to put you through is just, it's the city. It's the county. They're not your best friend. They're not even good to work with necessarily. They've got to take their own position into consideration. And if somebody is suing them, then they're going to take a step back and go, well, what is our position here? Yeah. And they're going to say, we're not responding. And they've been, you got this suit with the baby. Now, both the city and the county are finger pointing in a filing. Seattle City's attorney's office said the city admits that King County failed to clean and repair damage to the premises. And the city admits that it did not obtain a bid from a bio-cleaning company. I mean, I would, if I were the owner, I would want to get a bid from the bio-cleaning company, and I would want to get bids from contractors. And that's what I would throw into the mix. Is, hey, this is what it's going to cost us. This is why we're suing for this amount. You guys need to step up, and you guys need to help us get basically a clean bill of health on this property. And short of just ripping out all those surfaces, rip out the drywall, rip out everything. Yeah, leave the porcelain, leave that stuff, but rip everything else. Flooring, it looks like all the flooring was already out, right? There's just no flooring, because could you imagine what this place looked like during the pandemic when you've got just a whole bunch of people absolutely out of their gourd on drugs and living in a hotel? I mean, just the whole concept is like, what? I remember when I first started hearing about these hotels that had basically turned in to, semi-permanent housing for the homeless. And sometimes the city wouldn't pay. And we did podcasts on this. The city wouldn't pay. And so the owners were trying to get all these whacked out homeless people out of their units. And it was just this huge, enormous debacle. And they always ended up at, hotels. This looked like it was a pretty nice hotel, and I think it had been renovated in 2018, as the story goes. So it was basically pretty new. Can you imagine that? And then you've got a bunch of just absolute nut jobs, living in your premises. What was that like? I mean, that must have just been, it's Seattle. Right? It's Seattle. What could go wrong? Well, lawsuit. Filing also suggests the city denies that the Seattle license requires the city to carefully supervise tenants. Yeah, these people are homeless. There's no supervision. This is low or no barrier housing, right? Oh, pass them on through. Let them come through. Let them live there. What are they doing? What's that smell? Just smell that wafting smell as you go outside. The city is without sufficient knowledge to admit or deny the remaining statements. We don't have information. That's just stonewalling. However, the organization known as Purpose Dignity Action or PDA, helped to manage the site and services during the time in question under the umbrella of co-lead. Well, didn't do a great job if, in fact, the owner's claims are what they say they are, which is they're going to have to rip out a whole bunch of stuff. And can that be done quickly? I mean, how many units are you talking about? How many units are we talking about here? We don't really know, right? So a lot of questions that it sounds like they need a bunch of mitigation. I mean, it sounds like the place is just infested. Now, it doesn't take a lot. I remember appraising back in, it would have been maybe the mid 1990s. It would have been early to mid 1990s. And crystal meth was still a big, big deal. And I remember lenders calling up and saying, we've got an appraisal for you. Now, one of the requirements of this appraisal is you're going to need to wear a hazmat suit to go into said property. And I remember Frank Klein. He was kind of one of my mentors, one of my dad's partners. I bought the business from Frank Klein, Reynolds and Klein Appraisal. It's where the Klein comes in. I bought that business, the appraisal business, when I was 23, 24, something like that, pretty darn young. And I remember Frank telling lenders, we're not going to be putting on hazmat suits. We're not taking that appraisal. Because back at the time, we didn't know, how much exposure do you have? We hadn't, Breaking Bad wasn't a thing yet. It was happening in real life. You had some of the further out areas of Washington State. You had some major, major meth activities going on. Pierce County was one of the hot sites for cops. Bad boys, what you gonna do? Pierce County had the most out of control tales at that time because of the meth industry. And then we're being asked, hey, would you mind putting on a little white hazmat suit and one of those helmet things? Because we don't really know what you're going to experience. And the answer was, we do mind. We're not taking that appraisal. Have somebody else do that because not worth it. Because we didn't know what we didn't know what we were around, didn't know what we were inhaling, but there were a bunch of properties like that. We'd like you to estimate the impact of said meth that's gone throughout the building on this property. And you're like, how do we measure that? Based on what? Just the cost to redo the whole darn thing? I mean, do we even know that that's going to fix it? Is it going to be stuck in the studs? I mean, you talk about a studs down remodel, tearing out all the drywall, all that good stuff. Just the surface. Is it in the studs? Does it stay in the studs? Hey, this hotel room looks nice and new. But, you know what I mean? So if I was in a situation like this owner, I'd probably sue as well. Because what other options does she have? You've got a massive, massive season coming up with the 2025 World Cup. I mean, and the location of this, it's in a pretty prime spot with the Space Needle being just not far away. So terrible for the hotel owner if indeed their units are contaminated like they said they are. But like the city said and like the county said, we don't have any real information that proves to us, hey, we don't have the contamination report. We don't have yada, yada, all that good stuff. You're probably going to need to have some kind of evaluation done by whatever entity, some kind of, EPA contamination level deep dive. How bad is this building? Until you get that done, you don't really know what you're working with. And then you go out and get bids. All right. What would it take for us to mitigate the impacts of meth, fentanyl, whatever else these folks smoked inside of our hotel complex? What's it going to take to fix that up? And that's kind of what you sue. But in the meantime, I think you just get the lawsuit going like these folks have done. And they see what the city says. Maybe the city, turns around and goes, all right, yep, we didn't do what we're supposed to do. Let's get this going. Yeah, in a perfect world, right? That ain't going to happen. But some variation of that. Maybe the city buys the hotel. Maybe that's what the owner is looking for. Who knows? But this is certainly not the first, and it's certainly not the last hotel to have this happen during the pandemic. But, one of the things that always just really, really surprises me is that people are like, I can't believe our hotel is contaminated. I would have expected that. That would have just been absolutely expected, because go look at a homeless encampment. What do those look like? Yeah, they look like absolute third world country train wrecks, don't they? With just the worst of humanity coming out. So you're going to take that and you're going to move that inside, and then you're shocked when it's contaminated. I mean, they knew it was going to happen to some extent, because they said, hey, we need you to clean this up. And, no cleanup has been done. But in order to get big bureaucracy to move, you got to sue them. And then guys like me do podcasts. So make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll keep you posted on this story. They'll work out some kind of settlement, and the hotel will remain open. Something along those lines. That would be my guess. All right. Again, thanks for watching. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.